Hey friends, Andy Jenkins. I'm back with my friend Adam Hicks. A couple things that I want you to know before we get started. We've discussed really part of his story. Haven't gotten into a lot of the details, but we've really been discussing this idea of emotional health and wholeness and what happens when you're dealing with pain. Okay, in episode number 1, really, of these talks, we're in the 3rd. We ended up with the idea that Jesus will meet you in the pain. So you got to feel it. You can feel it and deal with it now, and be healed, or you can just drag this thing out forever. It's better, I think, to just, again, I'm not trying to be flippant with the traumatic situation, but it's better to rip the Band-Aid off, expose it, deal with it, heal it. 2nd episode, we really talked about, hey, here's some things that you need to deal with, and here's some things you need to do, but the restoration might not look exactly like a return to what you had. It didn't in my story, it didn't in his. There are plenty of testimonies of people who the marriage didn't fail, or the financial breakthrough came, or you just fill in the gap, whatever it was, the business upturned, they didn't lose the house, you just fill in the gap. But there are also as many stories of people who seem to go from one traumatic situation to another, and then yet even through that, God somehow brought about a victory, even if it seemed to be a prolonged and different look than what they thought. Now, I've got this t-shirt. I'm going to put a link to where you can see it. I'm going to put a picture where you can see it. This is, you haven't seen this, Adam.
Oh, so that's awesome.
I'm describing it to you guys while I'm showing it to him. So, all right, this one's right. All things, all times, all for the good is what it says. That's a picture of my house on the shirt. And then right here it says, Hilltop. That's a hashtag I often use for like my stuff. JCrew2, that's a hashtag I often use for my family. November 6, 2020, that's when Beth and I got married here. We got married like right outside. We're outside. We're in the tiny house. So you hear the wind chimes. So we got married right outside on that patio right there. Had maybe 75, 80-ish friends and family right outside. Incredible. Got great pictures. Both of our stories. In fact, she's going to start being on the podcast with me. I was going to say more, but she's not ever been on it. So she's going to start being on here with me some. And, both of our stories, man, there is just some pain and hurt in the past, and yet, every few days one of us will text each other. I don't know why we text. We live in the same house. We share a bedroom and an office. We both work out of this house. We'll text, I really love our life now. And it's been a longer road for her, I think, than me. But we're here. And so at the wedding, what we did was we told the photographer what we wanted to do was, instead of taking, all these wedding pictures, the bride and the groom. Okay, the bride with the bride's parents. Groom with the groom's parents. You do all these variations ad nauseum, and then how many times do you ever look back at them?
Oh, absolutely.
None.
Not really.
So we thought, okay, we want a shot of us, not like a formal post shot. We want a picture of us. We want to get one with us together with my mom and dad, us together with her mom and dad, and then we want one with the entire family. And so, that was it. Like, the only post shot we had was get all the family up at the front. The others were just informal. And we told the photographer, follow us around. We're just going to go get pictures with all of our friends. Because that's like what you want to remember, right? So that's really kind of how we flowed. And we put this photo booth up at the front there, like where that fence is near the fire pit. Fire pit wasn't there yet. It was somewhere else. And we put all of that photo booth stuff up there with little props and everything. And we told people on the way here, hey, we've got a gift for you. What we want you to do is we've got these cool shirts. We didn't tell them it was a shirt on the way. It was just a small gift. And so we stacked all these up there. We had them rolled up, by size, had a little label, small, medium, or I had kid sizes. Come up there, take your picture, and then grab a shirt.
Oh, that's
and so, incredible. Man, we get every now and then, like even now, we'll get pictures sent to us, texted to us of friends like they've got our shirt on. That's awesome. They've said it because it doesn't say like our wedding. It just has all things, all times, all for good from Romans 8:28, because it was like dealing with the pain on the other side of our story. You know, it didn't turn out how I, in the moment, was praying. It turned out better and different. Doesn't negate the past pain, doesn't belittle anybody from the past. It's just different and better. So that was kind of the point of that shirt. Okay. You could probably, you can't top the t-shirt, but I know you got a story.
Yeah.
So that has your version of, because the Volkswagen t-shirt you got on right now ain't gonna top this one.
No, it's not.
But you got a story that is you know, all things, all times, all for good.
Mm-hmm.
So like, pick it up, your story, and
on the other side of everything.
On the other side of it, yeah.
So man,
ex-wife walks out.
Yes.
You got to deal with stuff.
Go through the process of healing. And my counselor just looks up at me one day and says, "Man, how's it feel to be healed? How's it feel?" And you know, we were talking through this. He actually did the forward for my book. And
did you realize you were healed at the time?
Yeah, I had some circumstances happen that really tested it, and it just really revealed everything. I knew that my conversations had changed. I knew that when I was showing up to counsel, I knew that I wasn't talking about what I originally went in there to talk about, and I knew that I was speaking well of everybody involved in the situation, and I knew that I just felt clear. I felt honestly kind of like your boat, just whole.
So describe that so somebody knows, like the conversation, without giving details that would, you know, villainize anybody. What do you mean by that?
As far as how I felt?
Yeah, and in your speech, like even when you're talking to a counselor, or talking to a friend.
I wasn't talking about the divorce. I was no longer afraid to be alone.
Okay.
And I was no longer afraid to be a single dad. And I was honestly excited about it. And like, man, I'm going to be like Paul, you know, except I got 2 boys. And you know, just started making plans for the future. And it was almost like I had accepted life as it is. And I wasn't afraid, even if it got worse, I wasn't afraid anymore. Like, fear was gone.
Yeah.
Fear was gone. I ended up speaking, coming back to pastor, and I'll never forget my first Sunday back, and there were some nerves. There were some nerves because they had not seen me, and I'd seen some out and about.
So you didn't go to the church the 6 months. You're on. What did you do?
I went to one of our other locations.
Okay.
I went to one of our other locations, and then when I came back and spoke, that was that for me personally, if I could pick a selfish day of saying the best day of ministry, it was that day.
Why?
I think because there was a fear in me, because of rumors and people talking. There was a fear in me that nobody would be there, and there was a fear in me that I was just thinking through like how I would answer questions, or thinking through, you know, just a lot of scenarios, a lot of different scenarios that would play out. And I was just nervous too, and I hadn't spoken publicly in a while, and I had a lot going on in the inside of me that I wanted to share. But I remember that day, and I just remember walking out, and it was just a record attendance Sunday. And when I came out, I've never felt so loved by the church as I did that day, and getting to speak and getting to talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know, it just really sealed the deal for me. And man, honestly, I just went on with life and ministry and just got back into it. And I was getting better at being a single dad. And thinking when I had all my I's dotted and T's crossed, I would look over and there'd be a pile of laundry, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know.
Right. You think
and
you
so I'm getting used to pulling up to
dialed it in.
daycare, and I don't have a car seat in the back, you know, just things like that. And man, I remember I hadn't honestly wasn't even thinking about this, but I noticed a woman. And I hadn't like noticed to the point like where I hadn't been in that scenario in a very long time, but I noticed a woman worshiping, and I could not, like when I saw her, I could not get my I couldn't get her out of my head. I did not know her, but I could not get it out of my head. Like when I saw her worshiping, and for months.
So she was at your campus
for months. No, she was actually, I can't remember. I was at. It was after that because because I don't know if I was speaking or something, but I noticed her at a different location.
Okay,
same
church,
her at a
different location.
Yeah, and I just didn't know her. She was just standing in the back, and I saw her, and she was greeting, and you know, for several months I went and. Man, I started praying for this woman, and I started, and I did not tell anyone. That was the big kicker, is like I did not tell anyone, because like for me it was, I was okay internally, like I was healed, I was good, but other people had to process, you know, people around you, and you don't want to move soon. And
you've been processing the pain for the whole time since the Band-Aid was ripped off.
Yeah.
But everybody else is getting new information for the first time.
Right. And I started one day I had a pastor on our staff take me out to lunch, and he said, "Hey man, I've just watched you heal and watched you, you know, just handle this incredibly, but man, he was messing with me. He was like, man, you got any prospects for the future?" You know? And I said, dude, I noticed somebody once, but I'm not gonna speak on it. I'm definitely not telling you. And I said, but it was like I noticed her like that. And he said her name.
Oh, he knew. He was dialed in.
And then that happened another time with a different person. And then at my campus, we were talking about kind of this similar situation, and one of our lead team is not on staff, but they do a lot around the church. They said her name, and they said, I was at Freedom Conference, and I saw this girl praying over people, and they said, I just felt like the Lord, forgive me because I'm not a prophet, but I felt like the Lord said, hey, that's your pastor's wife.
Forgive me because I'm not a prophet.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, and you know, the whole time it was her. And then I had not been in the dating scene. I had no clue, and so I ended up calling some of the people, whoever saw me, and I said, "Hey, do you think it would be okay if I called this girl and just talked to her?" And they said absolutely.
Okay, so this is important because people are listening right now and they're going, all right, this was a pastor, and you know, there could be instances of a pastor of kind of overstepping a line. I mean, like that.
Oh,
people
my
do
gosh,
that.
I know.
So you're kind of drawing way back from that.
I'm
and you've
so
got
careful and
high level accountability and all these other people. Okay, so will it be okay if I call her?
Yeah, I made the decision a year prior that I'm not going to make any decisions without them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to filter every decision through that. I didn't make any decisions for myself.
Yeah, and there's freedom in that. Like, people think, oh, that's control, but it's like...
No, you got people in your corner.
I remember going through my situation, you know, there were some men that were very, you know, honest with me, and, you know, my father had that role as well. Mm-hmm. And there were times where, you know, they were saying, hey, it's okay for you to turn the page, next chapter.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I ended up giving her a call, and I cut the conversation off at 90 minutes because I was enjoying it way too much. Like, I was just blown away. And then...
What do you say to her when you call her? I mean, I know that's like
I just started. I think we were talking about because I knew she was on. We were talking about music or something. We're both in music. I'm a musician and she sings.
Was this just chit chat, or is this
that.
like
it was
you're being honest? Like, hey, I'm interested.
Well, it was chit chat at first. 2 nights go by where we talked for about an hour and a half both nights.
Yeah.
And we ended up praying together those 2 nights. And what's crazy is still to this day, there's not been a day that's gone by, even when I'm in other countries, where we have not prayed together since our very first conversation. And I don't even remember what we were praying about, but after the second night, I said, okay, I need to have a face-to-face with this girl and just tell her and be honest with her. And it doesn't need to be in my tiny town. You know, it doesn't need to be in my small town.
Because people are going to see if you meet her face-to-face at...
Right.
I mean, you know, anywhere.
And so we come to Birmingham and we sit down and the restaurant is not open yet. We kind of have like an early dinner. The restaurant's not open yet. So we sit there in the car and I just told her, I just need to be honest with you about a few things. And I was like, hey, either I'm going to freak her out but I don't have time to.
But it's better for her if you're
Yes.
honest,
and so I was
too.
over the top direct and I remember saying, you know, I saw you and I could not get away from you. And so I told her about praying and I said, she's either going to think I'm a crazy stalker or she's, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen because she was, of course, beautiful, but she's so kind.
But either way, you've
hilarious.
been honest and you've given her the truth.
Yeah, I told her everything up until that point. I said, listen, I'm not, I want you to know, I told her my intentions with her and that I'm not,
which was,
if you,
and I'm telling, we're saying this out loud because like it's coaching somebody that's listening to go, okay, I got it.
Right. So I told her the story of like I was praying and I had, when I had noticed you, I told her the story about the people who had said her name. And I was like, I thought like people are trying to work this out or something in my head. But I said, all I know is this, is I want to know you more than I know anybody else. And I want you to know me more than you know anybody else. And if you, and honestly, it can't be public right now. We gotta have some time incognito where we really get to know one another. We were not affectionate. It was about 2 months before I kissed her. You know what I'm saying? But we were not. I fell in love with her through conversation, and so we began. Anyway, that night in the truck, I remember just telling her all this stuff, and I said, if you look up, 6 months from now, and this is still happening, I said, I will love and serve you like you've never been loved and served before. And she's crying at this time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she wants to get out of the truck. And she says, well,
it's going to be a long drive back to
Well, she
Jasper.
says, let me tell you about, the past half a year of my life.
Yeah.
And she remembers stopping in the mall with her friends to pray for me and my ex-wife. She began to pray restoration and healing and all of this stuff, and she went to praying for us, and she said, after a while, just when everything just kind of ended, I began praying for you, and I just prayed for you every single day, and then it was almost a deal of like, I can't believe we're here together having this conversation.
So both stories were
things were happening on the other side, and we
both
didn't
sides
know.
You didn't even know.
Yeah, didn't know, and didn't know one another, but.
I mean, that's the great thing to know is like God's not only writing your story; He's writing the stories of all the other people that your life's going to intersect with at some point, where it's just gonna make sense when it gets there.
Yeah, and if you, I know you've met her before. I know it was really loud in the room, but when you meet her and get to be around her, that's who she is on her worst day behind closed doors. Like, she is such a gift, and she's my best buddy.
Yeah,
my best buddy, and we got a baby. We got married. We know that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's just get
we got married, and I had a wedding. I had already. It was kind of a thing where the ball was in her court of what she wanted.
Yeah.
And we planned a big patio wedding in in downtown, and everything was good. It was at a friend's house, and ended up raining, and so we ended up at the Methodist church, which was beautiful, and got married, and we've got a baby girl now. So I'm a dad of 3.
Bring balance to the force because you have those wild boys.
Had a lot of testosterone in the house, and she is just as perfect as her mama. And I don't even. What's crazy is like I don't even have to force myself to say that. She is Carson, Cece, is what we call her. But she's a gift. She's a gift to everybody she meets. And I look back and I look back on everything, and just like you said, it's not belittling anyone or anything in the past, but I'm beyond grateful for where I am in life right now, and what life looks like, and the people that I get to help. And we have a great relationship with my ex-wife and her husband, and just we're all on just kind of a group text together. We'll go eat dinner for the boys' birthdays. We do birthdays together, and there is she's my ex-wife is one of my wife's clients at her business, and it's a great relationship. There's a lot of healing, and we get to tell our kids like, hey, we're your one big family. And Cece says that she's not, I'm not a replacement. I'm an addition too. Is what we get to talk about. I'm not a replacement of. I'm an addition to. And just like their stepdad, Bear, is what we call him, and is just an addition to. And what happened was tragic, but again, God redeemed it, and He created something. So I had a desired outcome in my mind, just like you did.
Yeah.
And God had something completely different in mind, where He's writing our stories. He's the author and finisher of our faith, and so He is writing our story, and He sees the big picture of our lives. And man, I'm grateful every single day. Every single day.
Man, that's a great. I want to go back.
That's
to
a short
something.
story.
Well, yeah, I mean it's and that's the highlight reel. There's hard things and tough conversations and doubts and struggle along the way, I'm sure, which people need to know. Like, hey, this isn't just. It's not just, oh, hey, there, wave a wand, there we go. It's you actually have to walk this stuff out. One of the things that you said was you guys saw each other incognito for a while, so it was kind of a secret and
from the public, but not accountability.
And that's what I wanted to get on. Is like I know that because I've heard your story. I know the guys or some of the guys that you are close with, but. Yeah, that's the thing I want to bring up is there's this difference between, I think people mistake being private with being transparent.
Right.
So when we got married, I think on social media, I changed my status to in a relationship with Beth the night before the wedding. And then we left our house. My parents stayed the night with all the kids were here. They stayed the night. And afterwards, we took off, and I remember we're driving. We took right around that corner right there. She's like, hey, let's update the Facebook status. This will be funny. And by then, people were sharing and tagging pictures. We told them, hey, take pictures, tag them. If you got these shirts, tag them, whatever. So they did. And we're going down the hill. We stopped the car, changed the status to married. And I remember a lot of my friends that knew, they're like, well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
And they were being funny, like that's laughing. They knew. But then, there were a very small handful of people that accused of being secret. There was even a former family member that said, well, you were being secret about all this. And no. It was being private. And this is what you did. And this is what I'm sharing to people here as you're walking out your story. Privacy and transparency are two very different things.
Right.
In our culture, we have this epidemic of oversharing on social media, not being private. People air out stuff. This happened to me. They air it out. They think they've dealt with it. They've not dealt with it. They've just overshared it. Mm-hmm. They've not talked about it to people that are accountable with them. People that can speak into it. People that can bring correction. People that can say, hey, you're making a stupid decision right now. Or people that can even say, hey, wait, you're free here to move forward.
Right.
And
Right.
I remember before our wedding talking with my dad, hey, am I free to get married again? Or he's a Baptist pastor, you know, can I, and he, you know, he's like, let's really pray through it and talk through it. You know, and in time, yes, you can. Here's the reality of your situation. Here's what happened. You can move forward. Okay, so being very transparent with my dad, there was not a piece of dirt from my past that he did not know about.
100%.
But very private. Nobody on social media knew any of that.
Right.
They were very close friends that knew everything, very transparent, also very private.
Right.
And I think that's what you guys did really well. And people need to know that. Like, you can be very private as you're walking through the healing process, but you've got to go back to what you said, you know, in the previous talk we had.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to have the right voices.
The right voices at all times. And another important note is that when do you know it's time to enter something again? Cece did not bring healing to me, and Cece did not fill a void that was there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, you could have moved on.
I was
without her.
I was thinking,
but was grateful
single,
to have the gift of her.
Yes, it made it that much better, and so that's the thing. A lot of people think that a new relationship will heal an old one, and the pain from an old one, and that is not the case. You will take pain from the old one into the new one, and so you want to make sure that healing has taken place inside of you.
Yeah.
Before you enter into something like that. But it was incognito from the public, because honestly, you do have to be okay with saying it's nobody else's
none of your
business. It's nobody else's business. It doesn't matter what's before your name. It doesn't matter. You know, I get the glass house thing, but in reality, you are a person and you have privacy, but you do have accountability. So our locations were shared with people. People knew what time we were together and when we were apart. There were not there was accountability as far as like when we would go out or spend time together. Like I had people who knew that stuff, so that if anything was ever said or anything was ever brought up, and we get to look back on even our dating life, like to look back, because when people go through divorce and then they start dating or they start entering in relationship, there's something about divorce that just kind of, it's almost like your conviction waivers. We got to go back to like when we look back on our dating relationship, we get to say, man, thank you, God, for accountability and just relationships in your life. We get to look back and say, like, our relationship was pure. We got to have other voices in our life that, like, where the Holy Spirit literally guided us every step of the way, and the accountability in that. I mean, it brought so much to the table. We went to into our honeymoon night confident and just really blown away by God. Now, it wasn't like a year-long engagement, but
yeah, once you decide we're gonna pull that trigger.
But I know it. But I did, that feeling of wanting to do things, to do things right. It was almost like God gave me, just an incredible blank canvas in every sense of the word, and I got to put on it what I wanted, and He gave me the relationships and the guidance to do so, which is available to everyone.
Right? Yeah, it's not an exclusive.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of times people think, well, that there's a limited supply of God's blessings to go around, and it's not like a pizza or at my house you have a pizza out there.
Yeah.
Man, you better get it, because if you don't get it, like, it's gone.
Yeah.
And the boys will wait, and they will make sure that there's enough for everybody. But if they come back an hour later and you haven't grabbed hold of yours, like, it's out. And I think a lot of times people think that with God's blessings, it's not like that. It just keeps abounding more and more and more, and the same, not the exact same script, but the same ending, blessing level was available for everyone. Let me end with this, because this is a great point in the book, and I want you to maybe kind of unload on it a little bit. You said this, where unforgiveness exists. So if people are hanging on to the past, clutter this happened to me. Where unforgiveness exists, intimacy cannot.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if you went into, you just alluded to it a little bit, you went into this current relationship with holding on to past pain. You're just going to put that on her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But unload that a little bit.
Yeah,
Unforgiveness to intimacy.
Intimacy, you know, when we say the word intimacy, everybody's thinking sex, and it is so much more. That can be part of it.
That's an expression of
yeah, there's physical intimacy, but when I say intimacy, I'm talking about real, raw openness where I'm so vulnerable with you that you do have the potential to hurt me.
You're fully known.
Yeah.
Fully accepted.
Exactly.
Flaw and all.
Exactly. Flaw and all. Chosen. There's nothing like the best and the worst of you being out there and still being chosen. Still being chosen. And to know that about one another was huge for us. But where there is unforgiveness, we end up putting up walls towards people. And no matter, like, if we got hurt in our past by somebody, then we're going to have walls around us. And you hear people use this terminology all the time that, yeah, I've just got my walls up. Hopefully they'll come down. Well, we're in control of that.
Yeah.
We are in control of that.
Well, and you should have your walls up. Like, everybody shouldn't have the same degree of intimacy with you.
Right.
There should be layers.
Right, absolutely. But that's more driven by wisdom, not offense.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, 100%.
But that's not what
absolutely.
people mean. That's back to that privacy, transparency thing.
The relationship, you know,
but as people come in close, those walls should go all the way down.
Right, to where you can be complete, like there's complete openness and vulnerability, and nothing's held back, and that is a special place to be. There's no secrets, there's no lies, there's nothing, and you feel safe doing that. And it's very, very, you can't. For some people hearing that, they're like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. That is impossible. Like, what are you thinking? They may think I'm an idiot. You know? Right. But the truth is that when we react that way, it's because we have walls up, and we automatically don't trust all people because of one person who betrayed our trust.
Yeah.
And so we give power over, like, the power of all of our relationships in our future, friendships, business partners, teachers, co-workers, whoever hurt you, we give it, all of those, away to our offender, the one who hurt us, and they end up dictating us the rest of our lives. But when we have walls up, it's because we're allowing somebody to have more power in our lives than they should ever be able to.
Man, that's still a learning process for me. Like, you know, every couple months, it seems like Beth will say something, you know, related to, you know, hey, no, what are you really feeling or thinking about that? Or no, like, you don't have to hide that. Like, you know, hey, you can, I mean, and then every time I can still, like, I'll think I'm totally healed, and then I'll stutter step it, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, you know what, I don't. And then every time, like, I'll share it, and then it's like it's met with more radical grace and acceptance. Yeah. And as you get to that place, you know, as walls that you didn't even know go down lower, you know, that intimacy grows. I get it. Like, I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an incredible thing. And there are, just like you said, and there may be times where it's kind of like, it's not that there's not actual healing that is going on in your life, but it could be that, you know, you've got I don't know if you've ever had a scar.
Yeah.
That was kind of nervy.
Right.
And it was real sore. It could be the equivalent of that emotionally, where it's not like, you know, oh my gosh, I'm not healed. There's still some stuff that you may have to wrestle through like that, and scenarios that you come face to face with that just, hey, I don't have to be like that.
Or
anymore.
we're all in process. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
There's going to be new situations every day that you can read in light of past stuff, and you know, when it comes up, you just confront it and move on. I don't think healing's a one and done forever. It's like you know, you go to the doctor every year for a checkup. You know, why would you not expect the same thing emotionally? We're like, hey, oh yeah, that's okay. Yeah, you can revert, or you can get a new situation you haven't faced before.
That's why your test is so important for everybody.
Yeah,
the soul wholeness test, because it's like a checkup.
Right. Like, you just go through it and go, okay.
How great would it be to do that once every 6 months, or once every quarter, or once every year?
Well, it's free and it takes like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's all yes, no. So yeah, get the link below. Anything else you want to say before we sign off? I'm gonna
Man,
pray
I'm
off,
just so
sign
thankful,
out.
man. I'm thankful for the connection that night in the green room and just your intentionality to be a friend and just having me here. It's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We're gonna go eat.
Go get some grub.
I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna put on this nice T-shirt. Maybe, I don't know. All right, hey, listen, I'm gonna sign off. Here's what I want you guys to do: is go down to the links in the show notes. Adam's book's right there. I'll put links to it where you can grab it at Walmart.com, Barnes and Noble, Target, where else? Amazon.
Just Google
Man,
Paint Not Wasted book
you're on
and
all
look at
the
the
places.
cheapest price.
You got a website on that. We'll find all of that. Put it all right there. Also, the 10-question yes/no emotional wholeness checklist. That's below. Take advantage of that. The Soul Wholeness audiobook. You can grab that for $10 below as well. I'm going to sign off. My prayer is that the Lord bless you, that He would keep you, He'd be gracious to you. He would shine radical favor in your direction. You would see, you'd sense, you'd feel that the blessings that you see in others are available to you. They don't have expiration clauses. They don't have exclusion clauses. They are for you, and He has promised that He's going to work, as the t-shirt says, all things in all times. It may take some time, but eventually you'll see all for your good. Grace and peace. I'll see you again soon.